Hi guys, to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today we're going vegetarian for our quick and easy weeknight dinner series, and we're making falafel. Now you can make the falafel and make them into sandwiches like we're going to make them today. You can put them on a salad bowl, over rice, over zucchini noodles. You could really dress them up any which way you want. They're crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, aromatic from all of the herbs, and just downright delicious. Let's get started. So you're going to want to make sure that you soak uncooked raw chickpeas overnight. This is the only step that requires a little bit of prep work. You just put the chickpeas in a bowl and you cover them with water by a few inches. The next morning, they're going to have plumped up a little bit and they're going to be ready to use. I'm going to go ahead and drain out this water. So go ahead and add 6 to 8 cloves of garlic in the food processor and pulse them until they're minced. Next, I have 2 bunches of parsley that I've soaked in cold water, then I drained them. I'm just going to cut the leaves off, the edges, just like that. Try to get as many of them off as I can. And you could save the stems, the thicker stems, for soups and stocks. They flavor them really beautifully. Or if you have a little garden, you could put them in the compost pile, whatever you want. And we're going to pulse this until they're finely minced. Next, I have an onion, and I'm just going to cut it into quarters. Just get all of that peel off. And that's also going to go in the food processor and get minced. I guess some of these chunks are too big. Let me cut them a little bit. They are not processing today. And this is what that mixture should look like. At this point, I'm going to add probably half or 3/4 of the chickpeas, more like half because I don't want to stress the mixer and then have it break on me. And I'll just do this in 2 batches. I'm going to pulse these until they're very finely minced as well. But at this point, I'm also going to add some seasoning in here. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of salt for this batch, and I'm going to add more salt later on. Ground cumin seeds, I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. A heaping teaspoon of ground coriander. A teaspoon of baking soda. This is going to make it nice and soft. Some crushed red pepper flakes. Ground black pepper, as much as you like. This is half a teaspoon. And I'm also going to add a tablespoon of all-purpose flour. This is going to help them stay together. And this looks good right now. You don't want it to turn into a paste. You want it to be very finely minced, just like this. I'm going to transfer this to a bowl. You can leave some of that in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to add the remaining chickpeas with another teaspoon of salt. And I'll do another tablespoon of all-purpose flour and pulse until everything is nice and minced. and just mix everything up really well. If you have a bigger food processor, you can do this all in one batch. Mine is an 11 cup, so anything bigger than that would have fit everything all together in one batch. But you can do this in smaller batches too, it's up to you. And I'm going to switch to my hands. Now, as long as it holds together, let's see. Just like this is holding together, it's not falling apart. Then the mixture is good to go. If it's starting to fall apart on you, you can put another tablespoon of all-purpose flour in here until it holds together. So at this point, the best thing to do is to let it sit for about an hour or two so all of the flavors can mesh and meld together. But if you're making it as a weeknight meal, obviously you don't have that much time. So you can definitely form the falafel into either patties or into little meatball-sized round balls. I like to do it that way, but if you're baking them, then form them into patties and then you can bake them in the oven, but I like to fry them. So we're just gonna go on and make this right now, but if you do have time, you can definitely set it aside for an hour or two and they're gonna taste even better. I'm gonna clean this area up, get the oil nice and hot, and then we're gonna start making them. So while the oil is warming up, we're just gonna quickly make some quick pickled onions, and I've done this in a previous video before. Basically what you do is you just thinly slice an onion, preferably into half moons like this. And I like to use red onions for this if you can find them. Go ahead and get them in a bowl with a nice big pinch of salt or two. And then you pour some red wine vinegar over them. About a quarter cup or more. You could go up to a half a cup. And then just toss everything. And that's it. We're going to set this aside, and once the falafel are ready, these are going to bring so much flavor to the sandwich. And since we're waiting for the oil to heat up, we're going to make the little salad that's going to go in the sandwich. And I'm going to begin with these little cucumbers. You could use one large English cucumber instead of these small ones. I'm going to peel them first and then dice them. So go ahead and add all the cucumbers to the bowl. Then I have these mini bell peppers, but you can totally use one large bell pepper and then just slice that as well. Just get all those seeds out. And thinly slice it. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of the rest. And go ahead, add the bell peppers to the bowl. And then last but not least, I have these small little grape tomatoes. I'm just going to cut them in half and add those to the bowl as well. So I'm just going to drizzle a couple tablespoons of really good quality olive oil on top of the salad. And I'm going to season with a little bit of salt. Give it a nice mix. You can put some mint in here, dried oregano, whatever herbs you like, but I'm just going to keep it plain. And just like that, the salad is done. So now it's time to form the falafel, and I like to use a little mini ice cream scoop for this. And I just like to take a scoop of the mixture and put it in my palm and press it together until we form a little meatball sized falafel, just like this, a little ball. Put it on a baking tray and keep forming them as we go. So when I have about 7 or 8 formed, I'm gonna start frying them. The oil needs to be at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to keep forming these because the oil still needs about 10-15 degrees left to be ready, so I might as well just keep making these. So once the oil reaches 375 degrees Fahrenheit, they're ready to be put in. Now I like to have one of these big spider strainers ready because it makes it really safe to get the falafel into the hot oil. And get them in there really carefully. And don't put too many in there, depending on the size of your pan. In this one, I like to put around 6 or 7 in at a time. And keep in mind that the first batch will be a little bit darker than the remaining batches because the oil is going to be really hot. Once you start frying the falafel, the temperature of the oil is going to drop a little bit, and they're going to get that beautiful golden color that you're looking for. So it takes about 4 minutes for the falafel to be ready. You want to make sure that you flip them over a few times so they're nice and even all around. Then have a tray ready that's lined with some paper towels to absorb the oil once you transfer the fried falafel onto the tray. It's just going to be so delicious. So while the falafel is frying, you can continue to form the rest of them if you haven't already done so. That way everything gets ready, gets prepared together. I also like to clean as I go. I cannot work when my workspace is messy. I just like to constantly clean as I go. That way, by the end of it, there's not that much of a mess to clean up. So the first batch is out. I'm going to continue frying these until they're all done. Then we're going to make a little sauce that's going to go with this, toast some bread, and put the whole thing together. So the falafel are ready. Now I'm going to make a little sauce for this. I like to serve this with my shawarma sauce. So in this bowl, I have a little over a cup of plain yogurt. This is not Greek yogurt, it's plain yogurt with about 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. I'm going to grate a clove of garlic in here. You can do 2 cloves if you want a little extra kick. And about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice should be good to freshen it up. Just mix this all up. I'm just going to switch to a whisk because the mayonnaise isn't really incorporating and I want this sauce to be really nice and smooth. That looks perfect. The sauce is really nice and smooth and it's nice and pourable of the perfect consistency. Now it's time to put everything all together. So now it's time to put it all together, and if you'll notice, the falafel is beautifully golden on the outside. And let me pick up this one right here and show you what it looks like on the inside. It's green, it's vibrant, and the outside, like I said, is crisp, but the inside should be nice and soft and almost juicy and loaded with flavor. We're gonna try it in a few seconds. Over here, I have my fillings for my sandwich, and I'm gonna make a sandwich with some pita bread, but you can definitely make this low carb or lower carb by serving it over a salad, or if you wanna serve it with some rice. Really, the sky's the limit. You could even make these as appetizers for a party. It's a meal, an appetizer, really whatever you want. I'm gonna put the instructions on how to bake these if you wanted to bake them instead of frying them. If you were gonna bake them instead of forming them into rounds, you would form them into patties and then bake them either in the oven or in an air fryer. And those instructions are going to be on the blog post. But before we move on and I forget, make sure that you don't substitute already canned cooked chickpeas for this. You are gonna have to use fresh, uncooked chickpeas. Otherwise, the canned ones fall apart once you start to fry them. It's just not gonna work in this recipe. One more thing, if you wanna make these gluten-free and leave out the flour, of course you can use a gluten-free alternate flour, or you can boil and mash a potato and put it in the mixture and it'll hold everything together beautifully, leaving out the flour for those of us who are sensitive to the flour. Now let's put the sandwich together. I toasted a pita bread, and I like to layer everything in. I like to put the salad in to make a nice layer. These pickled onions are gonna be nice and tangy and vinegary and so good. Over here, I have some harissa sauce. I do have the recipe for this online, so make sure you check it out. If you add all different flavors, it's just gonna be delicious. So I'm gonna put some harissa in here. It's a little bit spicy too. Then I'm gonna get the falafel. I'll put 2 of them in here. So at this point, the sandwich is completely vegan, but I love this sauce, so I am gonna drizzle it in a heavy, heavy amount because I love shawarma sauce. Look at how pretty that is. Who would not wanna eat that for dinner? Time to take a bite. That is the best falafel sandwich that I've ever had. So much flavor in it. The falafel is very crisp, like I said. All those herbs in there make it taste absolutely delicious. That harissa adds a little bit of a kick. The sauce is nice and creamy. The onions are a little bit vinegary and just so delicious. Everything all together, you guys are gonna love it. The exact measurements are on the website, dimitrasdishes.com. Make sure you check it out because I'm gonna put lots of tips and tricks in there and alternatives and things like that to help make your falafel making experience the best that you've ever had. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I'll see you all next time. Yes, us. This is delicious.